The American Civil War is one of, if not the biggest reason that we Canadians can call ourselves Canadians and not the 51st state. So, with that being said, how did all of Canada's future prime ministers react to the firing of Fort Sumter in 1861? In the Civil War, many Confederates fled to the southern states to come to Canada West, now Ontario, to launch attacks on Union soil from the north. Even though Britain, and thus Canada, had abolished slavery in 1833, many Canadians and Canadian politicians were sympathetic to the South. Sir John A. Macdonald, our first Prime Minister and lawyer for Canada West, refused, alerting Americans of Confederates hiding in Canada to launch attacks from the north. MacDonald had always believed in a highly centralized, preferably unitarian form of government that wouldn't be torn by disputes. That's why he felt so outraged by the issues of, quote, states' rights. Maybe it's a mix of being just an unheard of person or just sharing a name with a much more famous explorer, but I couldn't find the reaction to the outbreak of war in the United States by our second Prime Minister, Alexander Mackenzie, not on his Wikipedia page, his biographical page, nor his Canadian Encyclopedia page. The exact reaction to Sir John Abbott of war breaking out in the southern states may be unknown, but our first out of fourth unelected prime minister in a row, Sir John Abbott, successfully defended four Confederate soldiers following the 1864 raid of St. Albans. Sir John Thompson was in his teenage years when the firing of Fort Sumter occurred. Thus, Thompson, who grew up in a middle class household, never had his reaction recorded. He easily could have been our best prime minister. It sucks that he died at only 49 years old. Fifth Prime Minister, Sir Mackenzie Bowell, was a strong advocate and organizer for a militia in his home city of Belleville just in case the Americans took their guns north. He served as an ensign from 1858 to 1865. When it became clear the Americans wouldn't invade north, he left the ensign, although he did come back the year later, I guess just for funsies. Our sixth and oldest Prime Minister, Sir Charles Tupper, was not a nobody. He was the Premier of the province of Nova Scotia. He believed that the United States could easily crush Nova Scotia if it really wanted to. You have to remember, back then, the 10 provinces of Canada were individual provinces. In Britain, not the same. So Nova Scotia, as well as Ontario, Quebec, and New Brunswick, started negotiating to confederate as a direct result of the Civil War. The next Prime Minister, Sir Wilfrid Laurier, was only 24 when the Civil War ended, and it's unclear how he reacted to the war. Same thing with successor and worst Prime Minister, in my opinion, Sir Robert Borden. While his reaction is unknown, being 7 when the war started and all, he did support an increase of Allied troops in the Russian Civil War. Some think this was because he felt that Britain should have intervened in the 1860s, although even though I do think his contributions to Canada are a net negative, I find this hard to believe. Thank you guys so much for watching. According to YouTube, 90.4% of you guys aren't subscribed, and that's a little high for me. So if you don't mind, please drop a subscribe. Happy New Year, folks.